All right, welcome everyone. Today we are talking about desire. This is the second chapter of Think and Grow Rich. This is an exciting chapter, and there is something that is very vital that I'm going to explain today that a lot of people miss when they go into this topic of desire, and where I think people go astray in their journey. And I'm going to break that down, and I'm going to make it make more sense as we go through here. And we always are taking into account, whenever I'm teaching and when you're listening, keep this in mind. Who is this person speaking to? And am I in that place that is being spoken to? So take it into account that you might not be in the same place that the author is speaking to or targeting with their language. And so I'm going to dive into that a little bit more today. First off, what is the definition of desire? It is to wish or long for, crave, want. To express a wish, to obtain, ask for, request. It's a noun. So it's a longing, a craving, as for something that brings satisfaction or enjoyment, a desire for fame, for example. And Bob Proctor explained it in his course as desire is being emotionally involved with your want. So I would say there's want, and then desire goes beyond. It's a step further than just want. There's emotion with it. And then there's definitely levels of desire. I could desire to have some chocolate, and it just could be something I'm like, I really want, or I'm craving some chocolate. I can obsessively want something with the depths of my soul, such as love, or to invent electricity, or not invent the light bulb, or flight, or whatever. These different things, we can have varying degrees of desire. One of the things that I want to clean up a little bit of mess before we get started, and this is, again, something I love to bring to the forefront when we are studying anything, and something that's valuable for you to bring to your own awareness as you are studying material, is what connotation do you give this word? Connotation means basically the meaning and the perspective and the energy that you pack into one word. I'll give you an example. The word father. If you had a abusive or mean or cruel father, that word is going to feel negative to you. And so when someone is talking about God as father, you're going to think God is like this mean, nasty entity. For those who had a loving and beautiful, caring father, you're going to feel good when you hear that word. And so it's the same word. The word just is. Everybody comes packed with all this baggage to the word when they read it or when they say it. So be self-aware of your perspectives and your baggage or your positive attributes that you bring to a word. Desire is another one of those words that can have a wide spectrum. Okay, so in terms of the word desire, there's a spectrum of the connotations that people give this word. Some of you will look at this word positively. You'll see it as good. Like, this word, it doesn't cause or trigger anything in you negatively. You're like, oh, I desire to grow and expand. I desire a beautiful home. I desire to travel, things like that. For some of you, you have negative energy around this word. So you're starting at a deficit when we're talking about this topic. So look within yourself and think back to childhood, for example. If you wanted something, if you desired a toy, or you desired to go and get something, you wanted to go on a school trip, or there was something you wanted, and your parents made you feel bad for wanting it. And you heard things like, you should be happy with what you have. You have to look at it. There's people starving in Africa. Like these kinds of statements where you were made to feel bad for wanting things. So now you've associated desire with negativity. I can't have what I desire. I can't have what I want. It's bad to want things. Don't want it. Or you wanted to become something, you wanted to become a singer, and your parents or your society or your culture was like, don't do that. You're like, you can't do that. That's way too hard. Pick something that's like more doable. Be a nurse, be a doctor, or like a carpenter or something like that. And you were influenced that desire equals lack, desire equals not having, and desire is therefore something that's going to cause you pain and suffering. Because what's going to happen is you will self-sabotage yourself out of even desiring something, because you're protecting yourself from being hurt, from being chastised, from a negative consequence of some kind. So spend some time with this word and thinking like it's a beautiful thing to desire. Our desires are our soul's way of guiding us in this lifetime. If you can desire it, you can have it, you can do it. It's your guidance. It's a beautiful and wonderful thing. It's not something to be shoved down. It's not something to be ignored. It's not something to be suppressed. You should enjoy where you're at in life and be happy and love where you are, but always be expecting more. Always be setting those intentions for growth and expansion. Don't ever be satisfied with what is. Always be like on the move for flow and growth and everything like that. And desire is the thing that helps us move towards and grow and expand and create. So release the baggage around this word so that you can go in with an energy of like, this is exciting. This feels good to me. And yes, let's go. Let's desire and let's have fun with this. Okay. So who is Napoleon Hill writing to when he wrote this book? He was writing to the masses. He was not writing to the 1% that are successful. So keep that in mind because what he says, and this is where people get stuck. Napoleon Hill is writing to the masses, most of which are asleep, diseased, broke, limited thinkers and followers. So they are in a state of mind that is closed and unaware. They're not setting goals. They're not thinking expansion. They're not thinking growth and anything like that. So these people need desire to get moving them forward. This is why it is the starting point of riches, what Napoleon Hill says, but we don't stay here because, and I'm going to explain that as we go further, but I want to really take note of this. And I'm going to use the map of consciousness to go even deeper into this, but desire is the starting point. It's not the ending point, and it's not how we continually do the manifestation process. It gets us moving and gets us going. So on the map here, we see that desire, again, if you're unfamiliar with the map, go back and watch the video that I've done that explains it. But this is a map of human consciousness. It's outlining our ways. Basically, it's using emotion to give us a graph of where we vibrate in terms of our existence in this now moment. And emotions are a guidance system. It's one way of us helping us to kind of put this into a system that we can understand. So we see here, there's these emotions at the bottom, shame all the way up to enlightenment. And what happens is between shame and pride, so the numbers on the bottom are between 0 and 200, this is where 85% of the population exists. And this is where we are operating in force. This is where we have to like push really hard. We have to make things happen. We have to do a lot of physical exertion and to get very little results. This is where we see people working really, really hard and they're making like minimum wage. They're not getting a lot of result for the energy that they're putting in because of their level of consciousness, because of where they're vibrating on this map. And you will notice that desire is a lower frequency vibration. It is not up there with love and joy and peace. And this is people like, what? Like desire, you need to have a burning desire to get anything that you want, and that has to be there. Yes, as a starting point. So what happens is if Napoleon Hill is talking to the masses who are mostly operating in fear, depression, grief, survival mode, they're in the cog of the matrix. Let me just zoom in a little bit here. They're just getting up, they're going to work, they're watching TV. Back then, they weren't watching TV. I don't know what they were doing. Just on and on it goes, stuck in a cycle. That is the energy. That mass of people is what's fueling the matrix for this whole system to keep going. You drive down the street and you see it all around you. Like people waiting at, I was driving downtown yesterday and went past a bus stop and there's like people in their construction clothes and they're covered in mud and they're just like, they're on their phone. It's just like, they're just zoned out. Like people are just asleep. They're zoned out. These people need something to spark some kind of desire in them in order to get off that hamster wheel of continual suffering, basically. Getting that spark of desire is now going to be the thing that begins to move them towards actually getting somewhere in terms of goals, riches, love, health, anything like that. And so that will propel someone up the map. And then as they are propelled and begin moving upwards, up in their levels of vibration, in that journey, they're going to shift and change as a person, and how they continually manifest and bring about their desire, what they have desired, is going to evolve, and that process is going to change in how they bring those things to life and manifest those desires in their life. You begin working with vibration and energy in order to align yourself with the feelings of having that with which you desire. And that's why desire actually falls out. Because remember, desire has the seed or has the element of lack in it, because you don't desire what you already have. And this is where this magical shift happens. The desire gets us moving. It gets us setting the intention. We don't like where we are. We don't like what we're experiencing. Desire is birthed. I don't want to be poor. I want to be rich. Now we have the intention of being rich. Now we begin to take action and move towards it. And then we begin to shift into, I must be in the frequency of that which I have said I desired in order for it to actually manifest in my life. And so then the desire actually dissipates and we step into an embodiment of the energy and we become one with it, because and be in the energy of as I already have it. So there's no desire there anymore. And this, I think, is like a big hang up for a lot of people, is they stay in desire. This is the same process people go and heal their traumas and whatever, and they go and do shadow work and they're like, let me look at what's going on within myself and let me deal and like face it. And they spend the rest of their life in their trauma, healing it and feeling sorry and everything. And you stay stuck in that stage. We utilize the stage for what it's useful for, and then we move beyond it. So we don't stay in desire. We move beyond it. We use it as a slingshot to get us going. I hope that makes sense. So Napoleon Hill states in The Law of Success in 16 Lessons, another really great book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. He said that it is a great gift for a man to be born poor. The reason that this is the law of polarity states that for everything there's an opposite. So if you are born into a difficult situation, you have the best fighting chance of getting desire for something great and experiencing therefore the opposite of it. One of the most dangerous, worst, sad situations is actually being born into like lower middle class family, because you have just enough to be okay. Like you got a paycheck, you can pay your mortgage and you can pay your car payment and maybe go on one vacation a year. And it's enough to satiate you to think like life's okay. And then you're not experiencing extreme suffering. So you just are kind of numb. You're just sort of going, and people can go through their whole life and never ever experience much of a change, growth in income, in goals, and anything like that. And our system is designed to keep people in that general zone, like kind of keep them afraid so that they don't do anything too extreme, like keep them sort of like, disempowered, but like let them have a house and a car. We want to make sure, but have lots of debts so that they feel trapped. But then maybe, flights, we'll put them on sale and they can afford to go to Mexico for 3 days. Like it's playing with people and keeping them in this zone. And then they'll do what they're told. They won't give up. They won't sacrifice the paycheck because it's a false sense of security. And people stay in this, and no desire is actually really birthed because there's not an extreme pain or suffering that has happened. It's not bad enough. So when that process that happens for us is when we're in these difficult situations that are going to birth that desire for us, we do need to get definite. We want to have a definite desire, and that can evolve over time. So if you're one of those people that's kind of like, I don't actually fully know what I want, we're going to discuss that a little bit more later, but like pick something without a backup plan, like without like, let's see if this works. Let's see if this will happen. Let me try this out. If it doesn't, I'll cancel or I'll get my money and get my refund, or, this wishy-washy energy. So desire, a definite desire with no backup plan, backed with persistence. I would say I'm a very persistent person. When I look at the word persistent, I don't look at it as forcing and pushing. I just basically look at it as not quitting. You can be doing very little, but you're doing a little bit. But the main thing is that you're not quitting. You just don't quit. You're eventually going to get there. You could, I could make the plan that I'm going to walk to the edge of the country. I could literally walk 3 steps a day or walk like super slow. And if I just do it, if I just not quit, I'm eventually going to get there. Some people be like, they're sprinting and they're doing everything and then they get tired and they quit. I'm going to get there. Persistence is going to win over like massive action that you don't continue going with. So persistence is like an underrated word. It's actually incredibly important and powerful for you getting anywhere that you want. You want to do some planning, and then you got to take action. This is a question that comes up for people, my clients that I've had in the past and people I've talked to, especially like people who are just sort of getting into self-development, is they don't have that burning desire. They're comfortable. So if you think about yourself, am I just kind of comfortable? Like, do you fit into that middle class zone where things are working, bills are paid, food's on the table, and got the car and the house and things like that, and you could just coast in this zone forever, and there's not a burning desire for something. You're existing in mediocrity, and there's nobody banging at the door that's going to destroy your home, and there's no real consequence or reason to change anything. This is why I would encourage all of you to look at suffering and pain and difficulty and challenges and hardship as a gift. People in your life that are difficult, people that have hurt you. These are our greatest gifts, because it's in these experiences where desire is birthed. And again, it's the starting point to get you anywhere. And I haven't seen it, at least to the extreme, where someone has achieved greatness without pain and suffering. So if you look on your life and if you're feeling resentment to someone or an experience in your past that was difficult, or you're feeling bitterness or anger, or you haven't forgiven someone or whatever, this perspective will shift that for you, because when you understand that this is how this is the fuel that's going to get you to where you want to go, you'll be so grateful for that person, for that experience. I remember Kevin Trudeau telling his story where he was in high school, he was at they have the guidance counselor thing, and you go in and they kind of give you some help of what you're going to do after high school. He's like, there was a waiting room, there was offices, and he came out of the office and all of his like high school friends and classmates were in the waiting room, and he came out and the guidance counselor was like, you're going to amount to nothing. You'd be lucky if you even make it in the trades. Don't aim high, just go get a job as like a plumber or something like that. And he said that this guidance counselor said this to a teenage kid in front of all of his classmates. And Kevin Trudeau in that moment welled up with tears, he was so embarrassed, so humiliated. And in that moment, under his breath and gritting his teeth, he's like, I'm going to show you. And that guy went out and became a millionaire by the time I think he was 19. Interesting thing, he pulled up to a restaurant of some kind in his Ferrari or some fancy car, and came up to the valet, and he got out the car, went around and went to give his keys to the valet, and it was the guidance counselor that was the valet at that restaurant. And he was the one that took his keys, and he saw Kevin transform his life. That moment of humiliation and struggle and suffering was what put the seed in Kevin to go into greatness and make something of himself. So when we see that suffering is this place, it's like a fertilized, nourishing soil for the seeds of our desire to grow. You begin to appreciate really the people and experiences in your life that have been difficult. Remember that all who succeed in life get off to a bad start and pass through many heartbreaking struggles before they arrive. The turning point in the lives of those who succeed usually comes at that moment of some crisis through which they are introduced to their other selves. That's in Think and Grow Rich. As a coach and as someone who I've done network marketing and things like that, and I've suffered through a lot of things and failures and things not working and losing money and all that kind of stuff, I would talk people out of signing up, because I didn't want them to struggle, because I knew what it was like to go through the rejection, people not, the hurt, and you get on, you do a sales call and someone says no, or you feel like an idiot, and all that emotion, I was like, oh, I don't want people to go through that. I want to protect them. And I was just explaining this to one guy who was a very successful network marketer, and he's like, Megan, don't rob people of their rock bottom. That's their greatest gift. So since then, I have actually, I don't want to call it running, but I have moved towards, or I seek out difficulty. And sometimes I don't think I'm doing it consciously, but there is an element of let me put myself in this situation. Because it's that's the magic of creation, because by putting myself in this difficult place, it introduces me to my other self, to that part of me that's going to come out and do something great. So don't run away from difficult things. They are your greatest asset. This is a graphic that I made. I don't know if it's going to actually make sense or not. Hopefully it does. Oops. So I'm trying to minimize all of our videos on the side. It's not working. The process of creation, aka manifestation. And there's so much gobbledygook around manifestation and goal achieving and everything. And and this idea of like, well, I'm intending this thing and I'm visualizing this thing, but this is happening in my life. What am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? You know, there's this blame of the self. And it's like we're asking the wrong questions, and the creation process is different. And I'm like, okay, hopefully this graphic is like gonna explain what I'm trying to explain here. I think I'm very smart in writing this graphic, but you guys might have other opinions. Okay, so so I've got like this, imagine kind of like a pendulum swinging back and forth. We experience in like those difficult situations, what we're really experiencing is a whole hell of a lot of what we do not want. So if we look at like poverty, for example, if you are poor and things are difficult and you can't do all the things you want to do, and you can't buy what you want, you can't travel, you can't do none of that stuff, you're getting a whole lot going on in you of what you don't want. And then what happens with that is like, I don't want this, I don't want this, and then it's like, oh, then comes the desire, I want to be rich. I want to be rich so that I can have all these things. And then what happens is that desire propels us in a forward motion, and that pendulum swings, and then we begin to manifest and experience the thing that we said we want. So you could say, okay, I want to make $100,000 in a year. You'd be someone who's making maybe $30,000 in a year. So $100,000 is like, seems like a lot. So then the pendulum swings over here, and then we experience the law of polarity, from this is not having to I've birthed the desire, and now I'm experiencing what I want, what I said I want. And now we get there and we make the $100,000 and we realize, wow, I'm experiencing all this stuff I don't want in this new place that I'm in. So I've got the 100,000, but I'm like, I don't have any time. I'm working so hard. Or I realize I actually want to make 500,000 because all the stuff that I thought I could have with 100,000 actually takes 500,000. And we get some clarity on what it is that we want. We get more clear on what we want. So more desire, and that desire is birthed again in the experiencing of what we don't want. And then the pendulum swings the other way. And what happens is it keeps going back, and the swing gets shorter. And what we're doing in this process of creation is the pendulum swinging back, but it's going shorter and shorter as we get higher and higher in our levels of consciousness and frequency. And then we get more clear on what it is that we want. We get more clarity on the specifics of what we want. And therefore we get more powerful in the manifesting of it. So you are not making mistakes by being like, I set this goal and here I am. And I'm now all this stuff I don't want. This isn't what I thought, is because you didn't know everything that was entailed in the manifestation of what you said that you desired until you experience it. And then you get more clarity. So you can say, I want to be rich, and then you manifest riches, but you have no time and your health is shit and your relationships are falling apart. So then you have clarity of like, okay, I want to be wealthy with healthy relationships and freedom of time and a healthy body. And now you've gotten more specific, and then you get over and you're manifesting that, and the old is falling away and you're experiencing this new thing. And then you realize, I want this, but I want to actually make money in a way that brings me joy. And so it keeps getting better and better and better. So don't ever feel bad that you did something wrong because, I got this thing and then it's not what I wanted. The creation process is a continual back and forth of saying, I want this thing, and then experiencing what you don't want and getting more clear on what you do want. And it's a refining process. It's a tuning process. And as we go the journey, we get to a point eventually where we've got it. We'll have quite a good idea. And I'll give you a secret. When you actually get up into this higher area where it's getting quite refined in what it is that you desire, it's less about the specific things and it's more about the feeling. And the desire is, I want to be happy. I want to feel love. I want to feel ease and peace and freedom. And however that comes to me is okay by me. And though there's a lot more of purpose of being a channel, of being used for energy to flow through you. So don't be discouraged by the ebb and flow of experiencing what you don't want. It's very important. It's really, really important to experience what you don't want so you can get very clear on what you do want. A story that's really cool, Sandy Gallagher, she shared this story, and she said she had set the intention and she wrote out, she's like, I want a house on the beach. That was her goal. She wanted a house on the beach, and she manifested it. She got it. She got the house on the beach. She moved in. Wow, my manifestation is here. She lived there for a little bit, and she found like the ceilings were like way too short. She kept hitting her head, and like the wind and the water would like crash up against the windows. You get like this grime on the windows all the time. They were so dirty with the salt, and like it was like super like windy in the area that she was in. So then she realized, okay, I need a clearer picture in my mind of what it is that I want. I've got the house on the beach, but what I actually want, because now I've experienced all this stuff that I don't want, I want a house near the beach with high 9-foot ceilings, with beautiful greenery around that, you know, and like a calm area of the bay and all this. So now she had all this new knowledge about what she wanted in a home, but she never had lived on the beach before. So how could she know these other elements of what it was like to live there? And a lot of the things that we desire and we are going for, we don't know what it's like until we really get there and get in there and experience it. And then we can refine it as we go. That's the creation process. Enjoy the journey. Don't get upset or impatient about it. It's how it goes. And that desire in those moments of lack is what gives us more fine tuning on what it is that we want. And it's a good thing. So then the next question is, what do you want? Most people don't know. They don't know what they want. You ask them, they're quite lost actually. And sometimes you might feel that way, or there's certain parts of your life where you don't know what you want. And that's why I would show in that previous slide, that creation process. Even if you're not sure, you don't know your main purpose, or you don't know, you know, what your big life goal is, that's okay. But you just need to pick something for the sake of moving forward. It's the movement that's required. And as you move, it will be revealed to you more and more. My movement started with buying a Kangen water machine and getting into the company in Agic. That's not what my life purpose and mission was. My life goal to sell water machines, but it got me moving. And I got a video about Bob Proctor from that company, which got me into self-development, which has led me to where I am now on my purpose. So something to move forward is what's important to get going. And then begin to ask yourself, if, for example, if I gave you $50 million, because what will happen is you won't even allow yourself to desire because of all the limits on your mind. So play with some exercises to help you think through this. If I gave you $50 million, what would you do? So we remove the money block, like I don't have enough money. Where would you live? What would you create? Who would you help? What would your day-to-day life look like? This would be an exercise that I would encourage you to do, even if you've done it before. We can always get more clarity. And I'll tell you right now, if you don't work through the details on paper, you'll work through it in your life experience. If you don't get clarity on paper, you don't work through it in your mind, you'll work through it as you go through life. So you can shorten things up a little bit if you spend time utilizing your imagination instead of having to figure it out in the 3D. So if I gave you $50 million, what would you choose? What would you want to do? And you had all the time and everybody loved you and encouraged you no matter what you were doing. And even then, some of you will be like, I don't know. You're so programmed to not want things that it's bad to want, that it's bad to dream because you're going to be disappointed, that you're not good enough. So you might, like, you're trying to protect yourself from getting hurt, from getting disappointed, from feeling rejection, from all of those things. And so you don't even let yourself desire. You don't even let yourself dream. And I'm telling you, you can have, be, or do anything you want. You are so powerful, but you're not even letting yourself think that. You're not even letting yourself think about what you could do because of like the fear that is inside of you of what you think your limitations are. And if you're still very stuck on what it is that you want, start with what you don't want. This can be a lot easier for people. If you start writing out, I don't want to be at this job. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be with these people. I don't want to be in this relationship. I don't want to live in this city. Where a lot of people are more inclined towards the negative. So when you start there, you can write out all the stuff that you don't want and then say, what's the opposite of that? And so I'll give you some examples. So a lot of times people will say something like, I don't want to be in debt. But if we focus on the debt, our energy is going to that. And whatever we are, where focus goes, energy flows, and that's going to expand. So if we look at the negative thing, I don't want to be in debt. The opposite of that is I desire abundance and wealth. So now you've got an idea, okay, this is what I desire. And then we can work with that. Or I want out of my job. The opposite of that could be I desire freedom, or I desire to be working at something I'm passionate about. Or I don't want to be sick. And the opposite is obviously I desire health. So then we begin to understand, oh, this is what I want. These are the things I desire. And it's interesting that we have to work so hard to figure this out. As children, we don't have to. We dream all the time, and we openly express the things that we desire and we want. It's over time that we're chastised out of expressing those things. So we got to get back into the habit of desiring and wanting and intending things. And when you do this process, you need to set aside this stuff. You can pick it up later, but just for this exercise, set aside limiting beliefs like I'm not good enough, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the ability, talent, or what people are going to think about you. We want to shove that all to the side just for this exercise. We're going to be delusional for a little bit and be like, I have all the money, I have all the time, everybody supports me, and whatever I choose is going to work. And I know that can be hard. Just try to do it, because deep down, you actually do know what you want. It's that you don't think you can have it. So you don't really say it or write it down or tell anybody about it or even let yourself want it. But you do know it is in there. Do the work of that. Remember, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity than is required to accept misery and poverty. So we think it's harder to be rich than it is to be poor. Nah, we think it's harder to be healthy than it is to be sick. No, that's a lie. The other stuff is a lie that's been accepted by your mind from programming, from childhood, culture, religion, and education system. This poem in here, I love this poem. It's in my version, it's on page 22. And it says, I bargained with life for a penny and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is a just employer. He gives you what you ask, but once you have set the wages, why you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire only to learn, dismayed, that any wage I had asked of life would have willingly paid. So what are you going to ask for? Because you're going to get whatever you ask for. Jesus said it himself. Knock and the door shall be opened to you. Seek and ye shall find. And you're seeking and asking very small because you're trying to be safe and reasonable and sensible. But you can have the big stuff that you think is big. You can have it all. So you might as well ask for what you really want because you're going to get it. Go for the big thing. Like, just do it. Like, come on. Why? Like, it just doesn't make sense to not do what you want when you can do whatever the heck you want. Like, try to wake up your thinking from the program that you've been given. Just try to just feel your mind bursting free, visualize the chains coming off and the bricks and the cage, just see yourself thinking clearly and seeing what's true. If I could claim anything over everybody that's here right now, is that this would make sense and that you would truly know how unlimited you are and how powerful you are, and that you can, I say it over and over again, I think people ignore me. You can truly be and do anything you want. And I wish that I could just rip away the limits that you can't, or that it's too hard, or you're not capable, or any of that kind of stuff. It's like when Bob Proctor was if he wish he could just take all this information, he's in a needle and stab you in the ass and get all the info in there and make the shift so you could just be free and live fully. And everybody's on their journey. And then once you've kind of done some work, you've been this is what I want, this is what I really, really desire, you're gonna have to fan that flame. The only time I see where this kind of happens without this work is someone who's been, like I said, in a very difficult situation, a near-death experience, or they've been they've lost a child, or they've almost they went bankrupt, or there was a real rock bottom moment. That those people will get this jolt that just propels them forward. For those who have less extremes, it takes some work to really foster that desire and keep it going and keep that. It's not going to keep going on its own. And that's where we can really bring in things like journaling and writing it out. So now that you've been like, okay, I want to be wealthy. Okay, well, what does that mean? Like, how much money is that? What does that feel like? And go into that in depth and use journaling as a way to do that. Visualization, setting goals around it, unpacking it. Like, really I've told you guys before, a lot of times I just sit in bed for like 2 hours when I wake up and I just dream about stuff and I visualize and I think about it and I plan how I'm going to do that. Like, I spend a lot of time just thinking about stuff, and it juices up the desires and the energy to keep going and to manifest the things that I want. And then it's very, 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 very important that you get emotionally involved. It's not enough just to want. It's not enough just to write it down. The emotion has to be there. Without the emotion, it's not gonna work. And this is summarized in this chapter where it's that section, it's called Turn Desire into Gold. So this is the process. You decide on the exact amount of money or the exact thing that you want to manifest and what you intend to give in return. So there's everybody here. Some of you are in Living the Legacy, and that's what you're going to give in return. Some of you are coaches and you got your own companies that you're doing stuff. Some of you have your own businesses, you're network marketers, or you have whatever. You have decided on a thing that you're going to give in exchange for the manifestation of this amount of money. This is a controversial one, in my opinion, about setting a date. I think that probably works. That's something, again, that's aimed at someone who's at a lower level of consciousness that needs a deadline to get them to actually take action and get going. But as we understand, as we journey this further, you bring the frequency of what you desire into the present moment. So there's no date on it. A date puts the manifestation in the future. And you are to be that person that has that money right now. So we don't want to put it off. We have it in the present moment. Then you're going to create a definite plan. You're going to start breaking it down. How am I going to make that amount of money? That plan is very likely not going to be how it happens, but again, it's a part of the process of getting you moving and getting you taking action. Writing out that clear goal statement, encompass it all on a piece of paper. I'm so happy and grateful now that I make $10,000 or more a month, working 10 hours or less a week, and I love it. You have that goal statement, and then you reveal it or you review it daily and get into the feeling of it, feeling it now. This is the clincher. This is really why we do all the previous work. The reason why we get the desire, the reason why we set the goal, the reason why we make the plan, the reason why we visualize and all that kind of stuff is to understand the feeling. It's all about the feeling, because that's frequency and that's how we create. We create with feeling, which is vibration, which is the language of the universe. So all this work is just for this thing. And then now once you've got that figured out, you get into that feeling in this present moment. And there is a difference. There's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it. The state of mind must be, remember what I talked about, the difference between belief and knowing. So I'm showing you right here an example of where you need to replace the word belief with the word knowing in this book. This is a place where the belief is actually not the right word. So the state of mind must be knowing, not mere hope or wish. So that's why staying in desire is actually not what manifests the goal. It gets us going. Then we get into a knowing of it is me. It is my thing. It is who I am. When Edwin C. Barnes climbed down from the freight train in Orange, New Jersey, more than 50 years ago, he may have resembled a tramp, whatever that is, but his thoughts were those of a king. He saw himself standing in Edison's presence. He heard himself asking Mr. Edison for an opportunity to carry out the one consuming obsession of his life, burning desire to become the business associate of the great inventor. His desire was not a hope, it was not a wish. It was a keen, pulsating desire which transcended everything else. It was definite. He was in a state of knowing that he is the partner of Edison. He wasn't hoping or nothing. And it took him 5 years, okay? 5 years. And for a majority of those 5 years, there was no evidence of his dream becoming a reality. So don't be discouraged. Don't be impatient. Stay the course. Have the intention. Don't worry if it doesn't look like it's happening. It's happening under the surface of things in ways that you don't know. But he held a state of knowingness even when his reality didn't show him that he was getting what he wanted. This is why you are special and you are getting what you want, because you know this and you're going to do this. You're not going to be one of those people that looks at the 3D and be like, oh, this is showing me what I don't want, so therefore I can't have what I want. There's not anybody here. You're the ones in the know. My 3D reality is old news. This is manifestation from previous thinking. So don't let it determine your current thinking. Your work is now vibrational. Do whatever it takes to feel the wish fulfilled. Be delusional. Use your visualization. Walk around like a crazy person talking to yourself. I don't care what you need to do. You need to feel it now. You can only create in this now moment. You're not creating in the past or the future. So you got to bring that version of you that's making $1 million a day or whatever you want to do, and you got to bring it into this now moment, even when there's only $2,000 in your bank account. This is how you do it. This is how you create. Desire gets you here, but you don't stay in desire. You release it and let it go, and you become one with what it is that you want, feeling as if you have it now. There's no separation between you and that thing. There is no distance. Desire is distance. You don't desire it if you have it. So we release the desire and we have it and we feel it. What does that feel like? It feels like security. It feels like power. It feels like ease. It feels like relief. It feels like gratitude. It feels like detachment. It feels like no worry. It feels just like, it feels good. It feels like happiness. That's where you're going to experience everything that you could ever want. Interestingly enough, you don't care anymore because you're already happy and feeling good, but then all the stuff shows up. Everybody here has their goals and their dreams and their desires. And maybe back home, maybe your family, they don't support you. Maybe, they think you're the crazy one. You're the black sheep. You're the weird one. Can't you just get a normal job and be like everybody else? But we're the dreamers. We're the goal achievers. We're the master manifestors. We're the ones that our souls have come here and said, I'm not living a normal life and I'm going to do awesome shit. What do you want? What's that desire? Let go of the limits. Stretch yourself to really think about what you truly want. Don't worry what people think. Don't worry about what you can and can't do. None of that stuff matters. You just have to first and foremost make the decision, and all the rest of it will fall into place. And then get emotionally involved with it. Bye for now, everyone. I hope you really enjoyed that video and were able to take away some nuggets that are helping you on your journey. I am deeply committed to my mission to raise the vibration of the world one person at a time. Of course, that starts with me and my own journey and then extends through the teaching and energy and healing work that I do on a day-to-day basis. I see really two angles to come at this journey of evolution for us to raise our vibration so that we can experience abundance and freedom and joy, those loving relationships, those healthy bodies, all those things that you're searching for. It actually is a journey that happens from within. And on the one angle, we come at this from understanding, gaining wisdom, beginning to discover ourselves and who we really are. How does the cosmos work? What is the soul's journey? This is why I teach on YouTube and give videos on my social media in order to gain understanding and wisdom and awareness so that we can logically move ourselves forward. The other angle to come at this is through inner work, through healing, through what has been coined as shadow work. This is why I do energy work and I use things like the emotions code, like bioresonance, do subconscious reprogramming, brain entrainment, all these beautiful and wonderful things in order to do work inwardly to shift our vibration. When I say shift our vibration, you naturally, at spirit soul level, vibrate at a very high level with perfect abundance and freedom and joy and all those things. But what happens though through life experiences, we tend to hold on to things like limiting beliefs, traumas, fears, doubts, anxiety, stress, all this kind of stuff that's not you. So our journey of raising our vibration is actually a journey of letting go of that which is not us. And so that is the other angle that I utilize in order to help people raise their vibration into these places that feel really, really good. What happens over YouTube though, or over these videos, is that there can be a disconnect. You can't necessarily talk to me or ask your questions. And so you sometimes feel like you're alone. So I'm really excited to announce that I have a membership where we can meet once a week and you're able to ask me questions as well as work with other people that are like-minded and on this journey together of raising our vibration, of manifesting lives that are beautiful and wonderful, that we're so happy and excited to be alive, living our passions and doing the things that bring us a lot of joy. On those calls, I will actually work with you individually as well. For people who are wanting help, I can release negative trapped emotions right there in person. For those who would like that done, I can use my bioresonance technology in order to read your frequency right then and there and actually send you frequency that will help bring more balance for you as well. And you can also, again, ask your questions, and I share even more tips and tricks than I have available currently on YouTube on how to heal the shadow on the day-to-day when you're on your own and I'm not there with you. What are these things and practices that you can do that ultimately raise your vibration? As we shift and release that which is not us,
all the money and the relationships and the love and the health, it just is a byproduct of that. It's a symbol of the shift that's happening within yourself. So if this membership is something that sounds exciting to you, you want to connect with other like-minded people, you want to connect with me and grow in community together, there is a link in the description where you're able to get more information on that and sign up, and I would love to see you there.